It was the sound of gravel popping under unfamiliar tires that woke me up that morning. Not birds, not my old rooster, not even the creaking windmill out back. No, it was something heavier, coordinated. When I pulled back my curtain, I saw them, a convoy of white SUVs slowly rolling through my pasture, like they owned the place. And at the front of it all, leaning forward in her seat with that damn clipboard in her hands, was Karen. She wasn't actually named Karen. Her name was Linda Davenport, president of the Willow Creek HOA. But the town called her Karen because the title just fit her like a custom glove. She ran the HOA like a personal monarchy, where every lawn leaf, curtain fabric choice, and porch light bulb color had to be personally blessed by her eyes. And she hated that I lived just outside the official HOA boundary, yet I had land the size of 10 of their homes combined. My great-grandfather's farm, still in the family, still private property, still not subject to their HOA rules. And that burned her alive inside. Ever since she moved in 2 years ago, she'd made it her life's mission to bring my property up to neighborhood standards. It started with letters, then surprise visits, then attempts to file complaints with zoning. She even tried to get the town planning board to redraw the HOA boundary around my property. But that was all background noise compared to what happened on the Tuesday morning I'm telling you about. A week earlier, my barn roof had started leaking. It's a huge old barn, the kind built by hand with beams thicker than your leg. Repairing it wasn't easy, so my buddy Dale, who works for the county sheriff's department, had come by that afternoon with some lumber and tools to help me take a look. That's when Karen drove past and saw his county sheriff badge hanging from his belt. And that's when her eyes lit up, like she'd found proof. Because in Karen's mind, I was hiding something illegal inside that barn. I suppose it didn't help that I kept the doors padlocked. But that barn wasn't hiding drugs or stolen goods like she wanted to believe, it was hiding something much more personal. My late father's workshop, his tools, his workbench, his unfinished projects, his handwriting on taped labels still fading on the drawers, where he kept nails separated by size though nobody else could tell the difference. I hadn't changed a thing since he passed. That barn was the closest thing I had left to being able to talk to him. But to Karen, locked barn meant secret, secret meant crime. Crime meant justification, so that morning, I watched those SUVs pull in. Men in matching HOA volunteer jackets climbed out. Not police, not county, just a bunch of retired golf dads with nothing to do and an inflated sense of authority. They carried bolt cutters, crowbars, and they were marching toward my barn. Karen followed behind them, wearing a smug smile that stretched ear to ear. I didn't interfere, didn't shout, didn't rush outside, because the night before, I had made a phone call of my own. I had told Sheriff Ames exactly what Karen was planning. He'd sighed so hard I could practically feel the air leave his office through the phone. "Third time this year," he said. "All right, leave the barn unlocked tomorrow. We'll handle the rest." So I did. I crossed my arms at the window and watched. Karen pointed dramatically, like she was directing a SWAT raid. "Cut the lock," she barked. Her goons moved forward, only to find no lock. The barn door was already open just enough to slide inside. They hesitated. She did not. "Go in, search everything." They shuffled in through the narrow opening, one by one, disappearing into the darkness. Karen stepped up herself, grinning like she was about to win a medal from the governor for uncovering the crime of the century. She placed her hands on the wood, ready to push it open wider. But before she could take another step, the door swung open from the inside. And Sheriff Ames was standing there. Not smiling, not amused, just tired, deep down in his bones tired. Karen froze. The color drained from her face so fast it looked like someone had unplugged her from her own blood supply. "Mrs. Davenport," Ames said calmly, "you wanna explain to me why you and your self-appointed patrol are trespassing on private property?" Karen stammered. We received reports of suspected illegal storage." "From who?" he asked. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "That's what I thought," he said. "And these men entered the building without a warrant or the property owner's permission." "Which means what?" one of the HOA men whispered, "breaking and entering." "Correct," Ames said. "And you," he added, looking right at Karen, "organized and instructed them to do so. Which means conspiracy to break and enter." Karen let out a breathy laugh. Sheriff, let's be reasonable. This is all just a misunderstanding. We were trying to protect our neighborhood." Ames didn't blink. "This isn't your neighborhood. This property is outside HOA jurisdiction. You have absolutely no authority here. But the view. Karen sputtered. The barn is visible from several dining room windows. It lowers the neighborhood aesthetic. We have the right to demand compliance. No, you don't, Ames said. And now you're facing criminal charges. Her knees actually buckled. I will give her that. She went down like a fainting actress from a Victorian play. Her HOA lackeys backed away slowly, hands up, like they were being held at gunpoint. Ames motioned to two deputies waiting outside the back of the barn. They stepped forward and gently, but very firmly, helped Karen back to her feet and toward one of the SUVs, but not to let her go. To place her inside. As the door shut, she looked out the window at me. Her expression wasn't angry, it wasn't even shocked, it was disbelief, like someone who had spent her entire life convinced she could not possibly be wrong, finally realizing she could. Ames walked over to me. You all right? He asked. I nodded. I'd be lying if I said that wasn't satisfying to watch. He let out a huff that was 1 millimeter away from a laugh. We'll handle the charges. Might stick, might not. But at least she's going to think twice before trying something like this again. What about the patrol guys? I asked. Community service, most likely. They were followers, not the mastermind. As they pulled away, dust trailing behind the SUVs, I opened the barn doors fully and stepped inside. The morning light spilled across the old wooden floor, illuminating my father's workbench. It looked exactly as it always had. Peaceful, untouched, safe. Karen eventually tried to apologize. Publicly, loudly, desperately, but the neighborhood never looked at her the same after that. The HOA board voted her out 2 months later. The new president, a quiet guy named Michael. He stops by sometimes, asks if I need help repairing the fence line. Brings fresh eggs from his wife's chickens. Turns out, the neighborhood wasn't the problem. It was the queen who tried to rule it. And sometimes, all it takes is one unlocked barn door and one very patient sheriff to knock a queen off her throne. I still think of that day every now and then. And every time I do, I walk into the barn, sit on Dad's old stool, and whisper. Still protecting the place, huh? Feels like he's still there. Feels like he saw the whole thing. Feels like maybe, just maybe, he's proud.